And this is John.
Hi guys, welcome back to our live stream, the last one of the Year of the Tiger.
That's right. So we said Happy New Year a couple of weeks ago for the January 1st New Year, but it's the Chinese New Year coming up in just a few days. So I know a lot of you guys are probably busy, maybe you have a lot of things to do, or maybe you have already worked hard and you worked ahead because you're not a procrastinator. I don't know. But either way, we're glad to have you here today. And this week we have a lot going on. We want to focus on our article about Mexico, Guadalajara specifically.
That's right. Yeah.
Have you been to Mexico?
I have been to Mexico, and I was on a trip where my goal was to go to Guadalajara. I was traveling by myself. I took a bus like 1,000 miles south from California to central Mexico. And then when I got to Guadalajara, I was on a town in the coast, and I lost my main card for traveling. So I had to cut my trip short. I had left it in an ATM, went off to go and eat, and then I came back and I realized I had left my card in the ATM and I couldn't contact my bank to get a new one.
So what did you do?
Well, I just took a bus through Guadalajara, and it was night, so I couldn't see anything. But Guadalajara is a beautiful, classic, Spanish architecture-filled town.
So you said you went from Los Angeles to Guadalajara. So
all the way to Mexico City.
You said about 1,000 miles. How many hours did it take? Do you remember?
Yeah, I might be wrong on the mileage, but it took me almost 2 days of traveling by buses. And Mexico is a huge country. It goes all the way from the southern border of North America all the way down well into the equator area. So the climate of Mexico changes from very dry and hot in the north to very green and jungle-filled in the south, where you get a lot more of that Aztec architecture, those pyramids that you've seen in pictures.
I'd love to see that. I've never been to Mexico, but that would be just what you mentioned. I would love to go see the pyramids there. We talked about that a lot in advance.
You have been to Central America.
South America.
South America.
I've been to Argentina maybe more than 20 years ago now or something like that. No, maybe 15. I don't know. Anyway, but it was a wonderful time. I went on a missions trip there. That's where you go we went to help out churches there and to serve people. And I remember a kid trying to teach me Spanish, and that's a endearing memory. I took 2 years of Spanish in high school, but I just kind of took the class. I didn't really pay that close of attention to it. But the kid was trying to teach me Spanish. Lovely people there in Argentina.
Argentina is a beautiful spot, and there is a lot to see if you're a world traveler in Central and South America. One note on languages is that English will help any Spanish learning you do. Both of them are, they're like granddaughter languages from Latin, and so we call languages that come from Latin, we call them Romance languages. So you might think, why? Because they're so romantic? Well, not necessarily, but because the Romans, they're from the Roman Empire. So languages like French, English, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, they have a lot of influence from the Latin. So if you take a Latin word like bonum, which means like gift or like good, you could get the word like it's like a bonus, like a good thing in English, or like bueno, which means good. Which in Spanish. So like there's going to be like a connection in terms of the history of those languages for you language students.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wish there was more connection between Chinese and English.
Sandwich, sandwich.
Yeah,
there are some words. Those are my favorite Chinese words. Chocolate, like chocolate.
Okay. I wish all Chinese was like that.
Me too.
I have a funny story. Can I tell it really quickly?
Please,
It was about language. So I'd lived in Taiwan for many years. And, McDonald's, right? Everyone knows McDonald's. So I was dating my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and I was like saying McDonald's in Chinese, and she's like, that's not the right way to say it. I'm like, what? I've been here for like 6 years. What are you talking about? So I always thought that McDonald's in Chinese was McDonald. But that's a little off, right? It's like 麦当劳, right? 是吗?
麦当劳.
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit different.
So I thought it was really, really close to the English. And another funny part of this, one time we got in a taxi and I tried to say it the right way. He didn't understand me, but I said it the wrong way with confidence and he knew what I was saying. I mean, probably, maybe he knows McDonald's in English, but anyway, language is a funny thing. But back to our topic of Mexico, and I think we want to talk about food today, right?
Let's talk about food. Okay, Mexican food is less popular or prevalent here in Taiwan. Prevalent means it shows up in a lot of places. But there are a lot of Mexican restaurants here in Taipei City, and I've tried some pretty decent burritos. However, I'm from Southern California where Mexican food is really, really good.
Yeah,
so I'm not a picky eater, but when it comes to burritos, I've tasted some of the best from Tijuana.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love Mexican food. Actually, I had tacos last night at someone's house. They made tacos. Really simple to make that with ground beef and sauce and that sort of thing. And you throw in some lettuce and sour cream and some salsa, and it's amazing.
Do you like spicy Mexican food or less spicy?
Not super spicy, just shala, just a little spice is fine.
Well, we'd like to go to our poll. Do you like Mexican food? So, time for you to answer. We'd love to see what you think. Have you ever had Mexican food, or do you like it a lot or a little bit? So check out our poll.
Yeah, maybe you've never had it. Maybe you'd like to try it. There are a few places in town, but if you go to North America, there are many, many Mexican restaurants. Very popular, and it tends to be a little bit cheaper maybe than some other foods, I think, depending on where you go. But anyway, so you can check that out.
Let's also talk about traveling in Central America. The food is one really good reason, but how do you feel about traveling in Central America?
That's our question. That's our question of the week, by the way. So if you're watching this now or later, you can just answer that in the comment section.
So the food is always worth checking out. Now, there are different countries that have different draws. For instance, there is Brazil, which speaks Portuguese, and you can find the Amazon and the rainforest and a lot of amazing cities full of culture like Rio de Janeiro. There are also a lot of places like Costa Rica in Central America. I've been to Costa Rica for 2 weeks, and we did a lot of touring, and then I stayed with my family. I had some family living in Costa Rica.
There's just lots of beautiful nature to take in there, right?
Yeah, hummingbird gardens, volcanoes.
You'll remember teacher Pauline and Josh. They have lived in Costa Rica, and so they shared a lot about that during their time here. And so a beautiful place to visit. But what about traveling to Mexico and Central America? We'd love to hear from you guys today if you want to just chime in on that. Let's look at our poll. Do you like Mexican food? 12% say yes very much, 75% a little bit, and 12% no. And so far, it looks like everyone who's taken the poll has actually tried it. So that's good.
What are your favorite Mexican foods? For me, I love burritos. A burrito, it literally means little donkey. If you see, in Spanish, if you see the ito ending, it just means like a little thing.
Oh, my favorite. That's really hard. I guess I like quesadillas.
Quesadillas. Do you know what a quesadilla is? Queso means cheese in Spanish. You didn't know you were going to learn so much Spanish on today's English live stream. But a quesadilla means a little cheesy one. So there's the ia or io.
It's delicious stuff. And also tacos, of course, are good. And enchiladas are good. There's so many. I like homemade Mexican food, which probably isn't legitimate Mexican food, meaning like stuff I've eaten at home growing up that my mom would make. So it's more maybe Tex-Mex, we call it, right? So that's more American. That's more Americanized, right? So anything with a lot of cheese, I'm going to love it. So I'll just put it that way.
Now, there's a special kind of Mexican food called a taquito, and it means little taco.
Super advanced here.
Yeah. Now, in the 7-Elevens in North America, you can find taquitos, kind of like cooked like little hot dogs. And it's basically a wrapped up taco shell with meat or cheese inside. Easy to eat on the go. And it was always one of my favorite snacks.
So John, I want to go back and ask you, you traveled to Mexico. Like, what was one of your favorite things about going there?
Wow. So Mexico has a lot of history there. Mexico City was one of my favorite places to visit. You'll see Mexico City featured in a lot of North American movies because it has this amazing, I think it was in a James Bond movie recently, this amazing Spanish architecture. is still there. A lot of stone is used to build these big old government buildings, and there are a lot of cultural events. The people in Mexico are generally very welcoming, very friendly, very family-oriented, and so Mexico will always have a special spot in my heart.
All right, well, that sounds delightful. I love walking around looking at architecture. Before we go today, we can't forget, of course, we talked about the top of the live stream. Chinese New Year is coming up in just a few days. Can you tell us right now, if you're watching, can you just type it out really quickly? What is like your favorite dish to eat during Chinese New Year, or one of your favorite dishes? All right.
Yeah.
Or we do hear from Luna. She says, I've tried tacos and burritos from European friends. I'm not sure if it's true Mexican cuisine or not, but it left a good impression for me. Hey, Luna, as long as you liked it, that's what matters.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not sure if I've had authentic Mexican food that often either, because we often like to change things up. Alan says, I learned Central American countries mostly from baseball games. It's interesting to learn more about culture and nature aspects of these countries.
Now, just like Taiwan, a lot of countries in Central America and South America have a very strong baseball tradition. Countries like Puerto Rico, baseball really took off. Yeah. So there is a lot of international baseball competition.
And here as well, right? Baseball is huge here in Taiwan. Yeah. All right, let's take another look at our poll. Do you like Mexican food? 12% yes, very much. 75% yes, a little bit, and 12% still saying no. So that's a little bit about what's going on with our poll. Anything else before we go today, John?
Well, I'm hoping that Taipei gets a Taco Bell. A Taco Bell is, if you're ever traveling in the United States, it doesn't quite count as authentic Mexican food, but it is a huge cultural thing.
Fast food.
Fast Mexican food, Taco Bell. Check it out.
Your body might regret it, but your taste buds will love it. But there's also one in Thailand. I saw one going through the Bangkok airport, I believe it was, just last year. So
cool, but none here yet.
There's one in Japan as well, I think, on the U.S. base there. So
slowly but surely making its way. Well, friends, we hope that you get the chance to enjoy some good food. We pray that this new year is full of a lot of blessings. We look forward to seeing you in the year of the rabbit.
Right, we will not be here, of course, next Monday. No. We will be celebrating along with you guys with Chinese New Year. So we hope you have a great time with family and friends, and we'll see you in 2 weeks from now. We'll be here on the 30th at 1 o'clock. So Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year. 新年快乐. And you guys are staying in Taipei for the New Year?